Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion for the 14th of June 2017. Happy Wednesday to you. So let's talk about what's happening out there. Not a lot, but a couple of areas of interest. First of all, our system down here in the Atlantic Basin south of the Cape Verde Islands. On the 2 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center, they were giving it roughly a 20% chance of developing over the next 5 days. And if we in fact expand out to the 5-day map, these two systems look, I don't want to say menacing, but when you see them showing up on a map like this, it gets your attention. We have two areas, one over here over Central America, and then this tropical wave. So let's dig in and see what's happening with both of these systems. As I mentioned yesterday, I wanted to get a sea surface temperature chart that shows the whole Atlantic, and I found it from the National Hurricane Center. I remember this, I've used it before, but I forgot about it. This is the Reynolds method, and there's just different ways that these different charts are derived, the methodologies behind them, and this is the Reynolds method. I'm going to go over on Monday what the different methodologies mean between this one and the NOAA-NESDAS and the CDAS, the three different ones that we typically look at. So anyway, for now, you see our system, the tropical wave is located right in here roughly, and water temperatures out this way definitely warm enough, 28 degrees Celsius or higher. And so for this to at least have warm sea surface temperatures, that requirement is there. And there's probably some upper ocean heat content underneath that as well. I looked at that yesterday. It's not very high yet, but there's enough. And in fact, if we look at the anomalies in this region, again, this is a different methodology than maybe we are used to seeing. And it's a different map, but I think it shows pretty nicely the delineation between below average, which is obviously this blue area, and some over the Gulf and southeast, and everything else is either at or above, and in some cases, especially up here off of the northwest coast of Africa and the Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal, 2 degrees Celsius right there. And if you remember, and that's above normal of course, in 2013 a large area of cold anomalies developed in this area, and that is often cited as being one of the reasons why the hurricane season ended up being so different than we thought it would early on in 2013. The complete opposite this year, quite a bit above the long-term average there. So looking at the wide shot, this is our tropical wave south of the Cape Verde Islands here. This moved off of Africa just a couple of days ago, and it's pretty vigorous for this time of year for sure. There's another tropical wave there moving towards the islands, the Lesser Antilles, so this too will do that over the next few days. If we look at the upper level winds in the area, and first let me outline what's what. This is the west coast of Africa. Let's get in here. There we go. Outline Africa for you, and up here would be Spain and Portugal, France, etc., and the UK. So now that you've got your bearings, hopefully, this is our area of interest. And lo and behold, it's in this green area through here. So light upper level winds for the system to take advantage of, if it's going to. Upper level winds won't be a hazard, so that's good for the system, but not so good if you don't want it to develop. And it's still early. Not enough going for it for me to be too worried about it. And in fact, if we look at the vorticity signature out this way, we notice that there's a little bit of energy associated with it here. Looks like a couple of eyes or something looking at you. That's about it. But it's not quite, it's June 14th, right? It's not August 14th. That doesn't mean it can't develop. I just think this is going to flare up a little bit, probably bring some inclement weather to the Windward Islands, and that should just about be the extent of it. In fact, if we look at the wide shot animation here, this is the visible satellite animation. We see this tropical wave interacting with some strong upper level winds here affecting the islands already, and the other one still out of the satellite eclipse zone here. Remember, they are different sectors. We don't have the ability to kind of move a globe around and see everything at once. That'd be nice maybe one day. So our tropical wave of interest is out here, and it's going to move along at a fairly low latitude and probably bring some squally weather towards the islands. And I suspect that somewhere in this vicinity it'll flare up, but I just don't see much coming of it overall. Also, I don't see much happening over here either. This was the other area that was outlined. The models have been off and on with it, and now they're more off than on for the most part. Maybe a large low-pressure area develops through this over the next few days, and somewhere in the southern Gulf, maybe towards the lower Texas coast or Mexico, with some heavier rains. But even that, I think it's just going to be a blob of disorganized clouds today. Now that can change, right? We know this does, and let me show you my reasoning behind this. If we look at the GFS, this is the 12Z run today, and this is the 5,000 foot level of the atmosphere. And just to give you an idea of what's what, this is the whole Atlantic basin. So here's the west coast of Africa, and here's the east coast of the U.S. There's Florida. And then in between we have this sprawling area of mid-level high pressure, pretty stout out there. But it's not especially strong, so we're not getting these blasting trade winds coming across, just as an example. And so here are the different players. This is the tropical wave that's got the yellow outline right now. And this is the other area that we will be watching. But I want you to focus on this for now. And notice right in here, these different wind barbs definitely form sort of a counterclockwise shape. So it's got some energy with it. And that shows up a little bit detected in the model by that little speck of green. It's a baby. It's a seedling. It's trying. But it's there. And you can clearly follow these wind barbs around. And they come in and they do that, enough counterclockwise turning so that it's noticeable. And so this whole piece of energy should move off, and we'll show this in the model here in a second, towards the west and west-northwest. This is 48 hours and then 72 hours, and you can see it. There it is. A little bit more vigor with it, but we're stretching it here. It's just the low end of the vorticity scale, and it's struggling against an environment that's not climatologically ready. You know what I'm saying? It's not there yet. But there it is, and it will bring some showers and storms towards the islands as the days progress. This is day 4, and it gets a little bit more of a signature to it. But once we get something to develop, if you don't remember me showing these last year, and the colors have changed too. They've changed it to green, and it looks like a radar image instead of what I'm used to. But when we get something that will finally develop, and we know it's just a matter of time, you'll see the difference. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And so this is really, we're pushing it here. But there it is. It's a tiny little area of energy, and it's moving along at that low latitude. May just run into South America for all we know. And finally, by day 5, one heck of an area of high pressure developing over the western Atlantic. And you can see the outline of that there. The different layers of it, different height lines in the atmosphere. You got to remember, this is like a topographic map. These height lines show us literally the heights of these areas of high pressure and low pressure. And so this is a big blob of air, a big dense area of air sitting out here relative to what we have to the south with our tropical wave energy. So if this was a hurricane, and this is just hypothetical, it would be moving pretty much south of this high pressure area and on into the Caribbean Sea unless this changes. And we know that's certainly how things go. But it's not a hurricane. It's just a vigorous tropical wave embedded in the trade winds here, and it'll probably kind of fall apart once it gets into the Caribbean. And notice all along, we're at day 5 now. This is valid next Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Really nothing going on over here. Even the strong signature to the monsoon gyre or the monsoon trough itself, not very prevalent. And we certainly don't see any distinct areas of vorticity there. So I don't know. I don't think much is going to happen out of the system in the Western Caribbean. It's something to talk about. It gets our attention, but that's probably going to be it. We never say never, but it doesn't look like much is going to develop as of yet. So bottom line, the takeaway from this, if you live in the Windward Islands especially, keep your eyes to the east as that tropical wave moves your way. 5 to 6 days out, inclement weather, squally conditions. Maybe it reaches tropical depression intensity. We'll see. One thing's for sure, we'll be keeping an eye on it together right here every day. So at least we have that, right? Have a great rest of your Wednesday afternoon. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. It's definitely a privilege to be able to reach out and talk to you and share this. This is what I do. This is what I look at. And with the age of social media and these videos reaching, in some cases, thousands of people at once when I upload them, it's really neat to be able to kind of share what I know and get you involved as well. And I do appreciate the comments and the feedback. It is truly awesome. So have a great rest of your afternoon. I'm Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow.